Hello children, welcome to AIMS India's online classes, biology session, transport in living beings, part 3. In the previous class, the means of transport in the plants we have been discussing, that is diffusion, facilitated diffusion and active transport. So in which we have completed the facilitated diffusion, which takes place along the concentration gradient, so which is a passive transport. Okay, and we also completed about the osmosis and plasmolysis. Okay, what is osmosis? It is a movement of solvent or water molecules from the region of their higher diffusion pressure or free energy to the region of their lower diffusion pressure or free energy across a semi-permeable membrane. Okay, it is called osmosis. It is of how many types? Two types, endoosmosis and exoosmosis. Endoosmosis means it is the osmotic entry of water into a cell, and exoosmosis means it is the osmotic withdrawal of water from a cell. Okay, and what is plasmolysis? The shrinkage of the protoplast of a cell from its cell wall under the influence of hypertonic solution is called plasmolysis. Okay, due to the withdrawal of water from the cytoplasm and the central vacuole of cell, the size of the protoplast reduces. So this is the first stage of plasmolysis. What is that? Limiting plasmolysis. And the second stage, incipient plasmolysis. The third and most important stage, the evident plasmolysis. And again, if you want to make the cell normal, endoosmosis has to occur. If the endoosmosis occur, what happens? That leads to deplasmolysis. The swelling of the plasmolysed protoplast under the influence of hypotonic solution is called deplasmolysis. It is possible only immediately after the plasmolysis and shows endoosmosis. Okay, absorption of water we are discussing now, how the water is absorbed by the plants. So means of transport, and the next important concept is imbibition. In the absorption of water, there are two pathways of water passages from the root hairs to the xylem inside the root, that we will discuss in the next slide, that is apoplast and symplast. So before going to that, let us know the phenomenon of imbibition. Imbibition, it is a special type of diffusion which includes the absorption of water by solids called colloids, resulting in enormous increase in volume. Okay, imbibition is a phenomenon of adsorption of water or any other liquid by the solid particles of a substance without forming a solution. Here solution is not formed. The solid substances or adsorbents which take part in imbibition are called imbibants. For example, seeds, dry wood. Okay, these two imbibe. So absorption of water by dry wood and seeds are the examples of imbibition. How do plants absorb water? Plants absorb water with the help of roots. The absorption of minerals and water is more specifically the function of root hairs that are present in millions. The root hairs are present in millions. They are very delicate. Their lifespan is also only 2 days. At the tip of the root they are present, at the root maturation region. These hairs are thin walled slender extensions that increase the surface of absorption. Okay. So for example, breaking of a seed coat in a germinating seeds is due to the greater imbibitional swelling of the seed kernel, starch and protein. As compared to seed coverings, cellulose, seedling is able to come out of soil due to the development of imbibition pressure. Okay, when you sow a seed in the soil and cover with soil and pour water, the seed first undergo imbibition. Okay, sometimes in your house, jamming of wooden frames during rains is caused by swelling of the wood, that is due to imbibition. Doors will not be shut properly because of the increase in the size of the wood due to imbibition. Okay. So here imbibition experiment, simple experiment to know the imbibition. Take a handful of seeds in a beaker, pour water, take dry seeds and pour water, and see after a few hours the seeds will swollen seeds will bulge in size due to imbibition. Okay. And those seeds, if you sow in the soil, it germinates to produce the plant or seedling, we can say. Next, how do plants absorb water? Once the water is absorbed by the root hairs, it moves deeper in the root layer via two different pathways. What are those two different pathways? That is apoplast pathway and symplast pathway. Listen carefully, children. Apoplast, symplast. The apoplast pathway is the condition when water takes the root from cell wall to cell wall and not entering the cytoplasm of any point of time, only cell wall to cell wall movement. This is the condition for apoplast. On the other hand, symplast pathway is the pathway where water moves between cytoplasm of adjacent cells. Okay. So the only concept we are dealing here, apoplast and symplast. See the image. So here in this image, cell wall to cell wall is the apoplast, and between the cytoplasm of adjacent cells is the symplast. Apoplast, cell wall to cell wall. So here the red color arrow mark or direction shows the apoplast through cell wall, whereas symplast pathway through cytoplasm of adjacent cells. So this is the concept. So here if you take plant cell, the plant cell is externally covered by means of cell wall, then cell membrane, okay, and vacuole is present. This is the indication of plant cell, a big vacuole a mature plant cell possesses. So plasma desmata is the part of cell wall which helps in attaching the adjacent cells. Okay, if a tissue means group of cells, so in a plant tissue you can observe this plasma desmata, cell to cell attachment, this plasma desmata help. Okay, in the apoplast you can see the red arrow mark. The movement of water takes place, the route from cell wall to cell wall. Here only cell wall, the green portion represents the cell wall, that line, middle line represents the plasma desmata. Okay, so this is called apoplast pathway. Then symplast, the symplast represents the green, thick green. So from cytoplasm to cytoplasm of adjacent cells, through cytoplasm of adjacent cells. This is the symplast pathway, the movement of water. So here you can clearly see in this picture plasma desmata, the adjacent cells. These are the cells, root hair cells, let us imagine. So first epidermis, then cortex, then endodermis, then pericycle. These are the layers in the cross section you can see. Finally it lead to vascular bundles, that is xylem and phloem. Okay, so here the green represents the symplast pathway through the cytoplasm. From epidermis enters into the cortex, enters into the endodermis, and finally pericycle, then xylem. And if you take the apoplast only through cell walls, the movement of the water takes place and finally reach the xylem. Okay, these are the Casparian strips, strong. Okay, this is the apoplast and symplast. So there are two pathways of water passage from root hairs to xylem inside the root, the apoplast and symplast. In apoplast pathway, the water passes from root hairs to xylem through the walls of intervening cells without crossing any membrane or cytoplasm. Okay, in apoplast, here apoplast without crossing any, only through cell wall. Okay, next, this apoplast provides the least resistance to the movement of water. It is interrupted by the presence of impermeable lignosuberin Casparian strips. So these are interrupting. See, that's why the path is changed. See here. Okay, so Casparian strips in the walls of endodermal cells. Walls of endodermal cells, there are some Casparian strips which interrupt the path. Whereas in symplast pathway, water passes from cell to cell through their protoplasm facing plasma desmata, facing plasma lemma. Protoplasm facing plasma lemma. Plasma lemma means cell membrane, at least at one place, and is also called transmembrane pathway. This pathway is called transmembrane pathway. Transmembrane pathway. It does not enter the cell vacuoles. It does not enter the cell vacuoles. The cytoplasm of the adjacent cells are connected through bridges called plasma desmata. Okay, these are the bridges, plasma desmata. Okay, symplastic movement is aided by cytoplasmic streaming of individual cells. It is, however, slower than apoplastic movements. Okay, it is slow, slowly it will move, water moving. Okay, the movement of water takes place by two different pathways, apoplast and symplast. Apoplast means cell wall to cell wall, whereas symplast means cytoplasm of the adjacent cells. Movement takes place through the cytoplasm of adjacent cells. Next, water movement up a plant. Water movement up a plant. It is called translocation of water. Water is moved, transported in various parts of the plants via different processes. It is important to understand if the transport is active or passive. Moreover, it is also the matter of concern that the water moves against gravity in the stem and from where this energy is achieved. How? The movement of water is taking place from roots to upper parts of the plant, whereas the gravitational force is pulling always down. Against the gravitational force, the movement of these water molecules and minerals taking place. How it is possible? The upward movement of water with dissolved minerals, sap from roots towards the tips of the stem branches and their leaves, it is called ascent of sap. There are many theories have been put forward to explain the upward movement of water, like root pressure theory proposed by Presley, cohesion tension theory or transpiration pool theory. It was proposed by Dixon and Jelly. You will study in higher classes. Okay. So let us try to understand the concept here. Movement of water, movement up a plant, or ascent of sap. See, a simple figure given here to understand. Water in the soil absorbed by root hairs. Next, enters into the root cortex. First, water absorbed by root hairs, root cortex, then enters into the xylem tissue, means apoplast, symplast happened here. Then, next part, upward movement through xylem, reach the leaves, and again the diffusion through stomata. A transpiration process occurs. There are so many forces, so many processes are there which help the plant to absorb the water. The movement of the water, uptake of water by the plant involves so many forces. Till now we come across diffusion, we come across osmosis, we come across the term active transport. Okay. So some more definitions, some more concepts, some more phenomenon we are going to learn. Okay. Root pressure. The next important concept is root pressure. Root pressure is a positive pressure that develops in xylem sap of the roots of some plants and is a manifestation of active water absorption. Okay, this root pressure is more during rainy season. As different ions are transported in vascular tissues, means xylem and phloem, via active process, the pressure inside the xylem increases. This positive pressure is regarded as root pressure, and this pressure is responsible for pushing up water to the small heights in the stem. Okay. The root pressure provides only modest push but does not play an integral role in water movement in case of tall trees. That means in small plants the root pressure is sufficient. In simple terms, what is root pressure? The pressure with which the water absorbed by root hairs is called root pressure. Okay, here water absorbed by root hairs, you see in this image, water absorbed by root hairs, then root pressure is created. So the capillary movement, the pressure, the water lost by transpiration, the continuous water column is maintained here. Okay. So this root pressure is sufficient in small plants like herbs, to some extent some shrubs. But along with root pressure, some other also involved in the higher plants. Okay, the root pressure is maximum during rainy season in tropical region and spring season in temperate zone. It is retarded or absent under conditions of starvation, low temperature, drought, and reduced availability of oxygen. These are all the factors which affect the root pressure. Okay. Only in herbaceous plants it is possible. In tall trees, the magnitude of pressure developed is too small to push the water to the upper portion, the apical region. Okay. So root pressure By means of root pressure, these small plants, herbaceous plants, the movement of uptake of water takes place. Next, transpiration. In tall trees, this is the main. The greatest contribution of root pressure is to re-establish two chain of water molecules in the xylem that results in transpiration, and thus the transpiration pull is the root cause of water movement in the tall trees. Okay, what is transpiration? The process of evaporation of excess of water through the stomata of leaves is called transpiration. Okay, the water which we pour to the plant, only 2% is utilized, the remaining 98% of water is transpired. Transpiration pull. Plants do not have any circulatory system, but the flow of water upwards via xylem is achieved by fairly high rates, and that is up to 15 meters per hour, the movement of water. Okay, according to the researchers, water is pulled through the plant, and this driving force is transpiration from the leaves. It is termed as cohesion tension transpiration pull model of water transport. Okay, Dexon and Joly, it was proposed by. In 1894, this theory was proposed. Cohesion tension or transpiration pull theory. So let us briefly discuss that also. In our higher classes you are going to learn. So water absorbed by root hairs through capillary movement, suction pressure, it reaches the leaves, and water is evaporated by process of transpiration, so that the continuous water column is maintained. Okay, transpiration pull it is called. So according to this theory, Dexon and Joly theory or cohesion tension theory, there is a continuous column of water from root through the stem and into the leaves. Water molecules remain attached to one another by a strong mutual force of attraction called cohesion force. There are two forces are there, cohesion force and adhesion force. What is cohesion force? It is a strong mutual force of attraction, and this is due to the hydrogen bonds formed amongst adjacent water molecules. You know, H2O, some hydrogen bonds are present in the water molecule. There is another force called adhesion force. This adhesion force is between the walls of xylem tracheids or tracheiry elements and water molecules. Okay, due to the chemical composition of the xylem tracheids, water molecules are attached to that. Okay, it produces surface tension, so that counts for high capillary through tracheids and vessels. Okay, so this is cohesion tension theory or transpiration pull theory. There are two forces, one is cohesion force, second one is adhesion force. Okay, the cohesion force is due to the strong mutual forces of attraction in the water molecules, hydrogen bonds, whereas adhesion force, it is due to the chemical composition of the xylem vessels and xylem tracheids, okay, which will create a surface tension and a continuous water column is maintained. Next, transpiration completed. Now let us proceed to the transport in animals. What is actually the significance of transpiration also is very important. This it controls the rate of absorption of water from soil. It helps in absorption of mineral salts. It is responsible for ascent of sap. Transpiration is responsible for ascent of sap. It regulates the plant temperature by contributing to cooling of leaves and also surroundings. It protects the leaves from heat injury, particularly under conditions of high temperatures and intense sunlight. Okay, so that's why transpiration is also called necessary evil. It is regarded as necessary evil. It was said by Curtis in 1926, or it is also called unavoidable evil. It was said by Stewart in 1959. So it's very important. Transpiration is very. The similar process also takes place in some grass plants, that is called guttation, which takes place through a special structures called hydrathodes. You will study in higher class. Okay, children. Let us proceed to next part of transportation, not transpiration. Transportation in animals. In animals, separate system is present called circulatory system. Okay, that circulatory system includes blood vessels, heart, and blood. Okay, there are two types of transport system observed in the animals. That is single circulation, single system of circulation, and double system of circulation. Single circulatory system, here what happens means the blood passes through the heart only once on each circuit around the whole of the blood circulation system of the animal. So this type of circulation is observed in fish. It consisting of blood vessels, and a heart. The blood passes through the heart once per cycle around the complete circuit. Example, fish. Fish has a two-chambered heart with one auricle and one ventricle, or one atrium and one ventricle. The gills contain many capillaries for gaseous exchange, so the blood pressure is low after going through the gills. Okay, here see the image here. So here the fish heart, one ventricle, one auricle. So the heart receives blood from the body parts through veins. The deoxygenated blood directly pumped to gills through the artery, and the oxygenated blood is again passed through body parts. Means systemic circulation and gill circulation in one path, only once the heart pumping the blood. So this type of circulation, where the circulation finish in one circuit, it is called single circuit circulation. Here the heart is pumping blood to the gills. The heart is called branchial heart. The heart which pumps blood to the gills is called a branchial heart. Okay, and this is best example, fish. Next, the transportation in animals, double circulation. It consists of the blood vessels, and heart. The blood passes through the heart twice per cycle, means 2 times around the complete circuit. So most of the higher vertebrates, higher animals, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. Okay, means frog. You can take lizards, birds, mammals. Means our circulation is also double circulation. In the case of double circulation, pulmonary circulation, that is blood flow between the heart and lungs, that is called pulmonary circulation. Means the circulation of blood between the heart and lungs is called pulmonary circulation. And systemic circulation. Systemic circulation means the movement of blood from the heart through the rest of the body parts except lungs. So then again back to the heart. This is called systemic circulation. Or simply we can say the circulation between the body parts except lungs and heart is called systemic circulation. Okay, here you can see the double circuit circulation or double circulation. Best example we can take our circulation. So the heart receives the deoxygenated blood from the body parts via veins, opens into the right auricle, pump the blood, the deoxygenated blood into the right ventricle, and that is pumped into the lungs for oxygenation. This circulation, the blue color left hand side, represent the pulmonary circuit circulation or pulmonary circulation, the circulation between the heart and lungs. And right hand side you can see the blood is oxygenated and reach the left auricle. Left auricle pumps the oxygenated blood into the left ventricle. Then left ventricle pumps the oxygenated blood to all parts of the body through aorta, big artery. Okay, so this circulation here, the circulation between the heart and body parts is taking place. It is called systemic circuit circulation. Okay, so this kind of circulation is called double circulation, seen in reptiles, amphibians, birds and mammals. Okay children, hope you understood. Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe our channel and press the bell icon for receiving latest updates.